A veteran bought his late wife's dream house behind the waterfall, with only his dog beside him. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get into today's story. In the remote woods of Northern California, behind a cascade of silver water, lies a home that once echoed with laughter, love, and dreams. This was a house built by a man and his wife, a dream they shared, a promise they made to each other. But as time passed, that promise, like so many others, was broken. The house remained, just as beautiful, just as empty, waiting for the man who had lost everything. The day the letter arrived, Ben Taylor, a man who had once fought on battlefields far from home, now found himself living in the shadows of memories. At 45, Ben was not the man he once was. His hair, once full and dark, had begun to show streaks of silver, and the war that had shaped him had also left invisible scars. His home was a small apartment on the edge of town, cluttered with remnants of a life that felt more like a collection of souvenirs than a home. Ben's only companion was Scout, his loyal German shepherd, who had been by his side through thick and thin. The two had become inseparable, partners in a life that seemed to have no direction. Then one day, while sifting through the mail, Ben found a letter that changed everything. It was from a lawyer, informing him that he had inherited his late wife's dream house, a place they had always talked about living in, behind the waterfall, where the sound of water would drown out the noise of the world. Ben could hardly believe it. It had been 5 years since his wife, Laura, passed away, and he never thought he'd hear about that house again. The memory of Laura was still fresh, her voice still ringing in his ears, especially when he'd sit by the window and watch the rain pour down. That house had been her sanctuary, a place of peace she'd wanted for them both. But life had other plans, and now it was just him and Scout. With nothing to lose, Ben decided to make the journey to the house. Scout, sensing something important was happening, paced nervously at his side. Together, they drove out of town, through winding roads and thick forests, until the familiar sound of rushing water greeted them. There, in the mist and spray of the waterfall, stood the house. It was just as Laura had dreamed, modest yet stunning, with a porch that faced the waterfall and a stone path that led to the water's edge. Ben stepped out of the truck and felt the cool mist on his face, a reminder of the many times he and Laura had talked about this place, a place where they would one day find peace. Scout's tail wagged, and he barked excitedly, his paws skimming the ground as if he understood the significance of this moment. As Ben approached the house, he was overwhelmed by a mix of emotions. The house was beautiful, just as Laura had always described, but it also felt like a ghost of the past, a memory that had been frozen in time. He slowly opened the door, and the familiar smell of wood and earth greeted him. The house felt alive, as if it had been waiting for him, for them. But there was something else, something deeper, something Ben couldn't quite place. The house seemed to whisper, calling out to him. Maybe it was just his imagination, or maybe it was Laura, reaching out to him from beyond. Whatever it was, it felt like the beginning of something new. Ben and Scout stepped inside, and the door closed behind them, sealing them in this new chapter of their lives. But little did Ben know, this house, this inheritance, held more than just memories. It held a mystery that would change everything. I walked through the door and was immediately hit by the faint scent of wood and dust, a mixture of memories and forgotten years. The house, though empty, felt alive, as if it had been waiting for Ben and Scout all this time. The faint hum of the waterfall outside, a constant reminder of nature's beauty, filled the air, and the mist from the cascades swirled through the open windows, adding a refreshing chill to the room. Ben stood there for a moment, taking in the space, the open floor plan, the old wooden beams that stretched across the ceiling like a welcoming embrace. This was where Laura had dreamed of living. It was small but perfect, just enough room for them to escape from the world. The house seemed to whisper her name, filling the emptiness around him with a soft, comforting voice. Ben closed his eyes for a second, allowing the peacefulness of the place to wash over him. He could almost hear Laura's laugh, feel her warmth beside him. Scout, sensing the stillness, wandered around the house, his nose twitching, as if trying to understand where they were. Ben followed the dog, entering each room slowly, trying to imagine Laura's presence in each corner. There was a cozy living room with a stone fireplace, a dining area with large windows that overlooked the waterfall, and a kitchen with wooden countertops that had obviously been well loved. It was all just as Laura had described it. She had always talked about how she wanted a small house like this, nestled behind a waterfall, surrounded by nature, where they could just be at peace. She had wanted a place to breathe, a place where time seemed to stand still. As Ben stood there, a wave of sadness washed over him. He missed her more than he could express, but at the same time, he felt a strange sense of peace. This house, this place, was a symbol of her love and her dreams. It was a gift, something that would keep her spirit alive in a way he had never expected. But as he moved deeper into the house, Ben began to feel an odd sensation. It was subtle at first, just a shift in the air, a feeling of being watched. He shrugged it off, blaming the isolation of the house, the quiet that was almost too much to bear. But then Scout, who had been quietly sniffing around, suddenly stopped in front of the fireplace, his body tense, his ears perked up. Ben frowned, walking over to the dog. "What is it, boy?" he muttered under his breath. Scout growled softly, a low rumble that sent a chill down Ben's spine. Ben knelt beside the dog, trying to see what had caught his attention. The area around. The fireplace seemed normal, except for one thing. There was a small crack in the wall, barely noticeable unless you were looking for it. Ben reached out and touched the crack, running his fingers along it. To his surprise, the wall moved slightly, revealing a hidden compartment behind it. His heart raced as he carefully pushed the wall aside, revealing a small, dust-covered box hidden in the cavity. "What the hell?" Ben whispered to himself. He reached into the compartment and pulled the box out, dusting it off with his sleeve. It was old, the wood worn and cracked, but the metal clasp on it still gleamed as if it had been used recently. With a quick motion, Ben opened the box, half expecting to find something strange or old, maybe a keepsake of Laura's. But instead, he found a stack of letters, all tied together with a faded ribbon. His hands trembled as he picked up the top letter, carefully untied the ribbon, and opened it. The handwriting was familiar, elegant, the letters flowing with grace. It was a letter from Laura. Ben's breath caught in his throat as he read the first few lines. The letter was addressed to him, a message that Laura had written before her passing. "My love, if you're reading this, then I'm no longer with you. But know this, I left behind something for you in this house, something that will change everything. It's time for you to find it, to heal, and to see the truth I couldn't tell you. I have faith in you, always." Ben's heart raced as he read the words over and over again. There was something in this house, something that Laura had left for him. He didn't know what it was yet, but the letter was clear. She had hidden something, a secret, a message meant for him to uncover. His eyes darted back to the room, the silence now heavy with the weight of what he had just discovered. Was this the miracle she had always dreamed of? The house was more than just a memory of her. It was the key to something deeper, something that Ben had to uncover. As he sat there, still holding the letter, Scout padded over to him, pressing his head into Ben's lap, as if sensing the gravity of the moment. Ben stroked the dog's fur absent-mindedly, lost in thought. What had Laura hidden here? And what did it mean for him, for the future they had dreamed of together? The answers were buried in the house, waiting to be discovered, waiting for him to take the next step. Ben stood up, determination setting in. He had found the first clue. Now, it was time to find the rest. I sat in the quiet of the living room, the letter from Laura still clutched in my hands. The words she had written were like a lifeline, pulling me deeper into the mystery that this house had become. It's time for you to find it, to heal, and to see the truth I couldn't tell you. Those words echoed in my mind as I gazed around the room. The house felt different now, more than just a place I had inherited. It was a puzzle that held pieces of a life I thought I had already lost. As I looked around, I noticed something I hadn't before, a small door hidden beneath the staircase, partially obscured by a thick rug. My heart skipped a beat. Could this be part of Laura's secret? I got up and crossed the room, feeling a sense of purpose settle over me. Scout, sensing my movement, followed closely at my heels, his sharp eyes watching me intently. I knelt down, pulling the rug away to reveal the door. It was old, the wood faded and scratched, but the handle gleamed faintly, as though it had been touched not long ago. With a deep breath, I reached for the handle and turned it. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a narrow staircase leading down into darkness. My pulse quickened. What had Laura hidden down here? I hesitated for a moment, then turned to Scout, whose amber eyes seemed to reassure me. "Let's see what's waiting," I whispered, and with that, we descended into the unknown. The air was cool and musty, a sharp contrast to the warmth of the main house. The steps creaked beneath my weight, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was walking deeper into a past I didn't fully understand. At the bottom of the stairs, the room opened up into a small, dimly lit space. There was a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling, casting a weak glow over the room. Dust hung in the air, but amidst the decay, I could see shelves lined with old books and boxes. It was clear this place hadn't been touched in years. I stepped forward cautiously, running my hand along the shelves. My fingers brushed against the spine of a book, its cover cracked and worn. I pulled it free, opening it to find it filled with old handwritten notes, some pages faded to the point of illegibility. As I scanned through the notes, I found a page that was still intact, the ink still dark and legible. It was dated only a year before Laura's death, and it was addressed to me. "Ben, I know what you're thinking. I can't change what's happened, but I can change what's to come. You need to understand the secret of this house. It's not just a place, it's a gift from someone who loved us both deeply. The truth is, this house wasn't just built for us, it was built to heal. It holds more than memories, it holds power, and it will lead you to the answers you've been searching for. But only if you believe." I stared at the letter in disbelief. Power? A gift from someone who loved us both? I could barely comprehend what Laura had written. My mind raced as I tried to connect the dots. Could this house truly be more than just a home? Could it be part of something much larger, something that had been hidden from me for years? I felt a sudden rush of hope. Laura had known, hadn't she? She had always believed in the possibilities that lay beyond the ordinary, and now, in the wake of her absence, I had to believe too. But before I could process the words, Scout's low growl broke through my thoughts. I turned quickly, my heart pounding in my chest. Scout was standing by one of the boxes, his body stiff and his gaze fixed on something. I walked over to him, kneeling down to see what he had found. Inside the box, there was an old journal, its leather cover cracked with age. I opened it carefully, my hands trembling. The pages inside were filled with sketches and notes, many of them unfamiliar to me. But as I flipped through, one page caught my eye. It was a map of the house, but there was something else. Marked in red ink was an X, placed directly over the area where the waterfall ran. My breath caught in my throat. This was no ordinary map. It was a map of a secret that was hidden right under my feet. I knew then that I had to follow the trail Laura had left behind. There was more to this house, more to this legacy, and I was the one who was meant to uncover it. I looked down at Scout, who was still standing by my side, as if waiting for me to take the next step. I knew this was just the beginning. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but with Scout by my side and Laura's guidance, I was ready to find the truth. Together, we would uncover the mystery of this house, and in doing so, I would find the peace I had been searching for all along. I stood in the dimly lit basement, the old map still in my hand, the red X mocking me with its mystery. The house, which had once been nothing more than a quiet relic of my past, was now a puzzle I couldn't walk away from. The map, with its mysterious markings, had given me the first real hope that I might be able to find what Laura had wanted me to discover. Scout, who had been quietly sitting by my side, gave a soft whine, his body tense and alert. I could feel the weight of the moment settle over me, like the calm before a storm. This house, the one she had loved, was not just a home. It was a gateway to something deeper, something I had yet to understand. I had to follow the map, follow the clues Laura had left for me, even if they led me down a path I was unprepared for. With Scout leading the way, I made my decision. It was time to go outside and investigate the area marked on the map, the place where the waterfall met the ground. I didn't know what I was expecting to find, but I knew I had to find it. We walked back through the house, the silence around us growing heavier as I thought about everything that had happened in the last few days. It had only been a few days since I had arrived here, but it felt like I had lived a lifetime. I felt like I was standing on the edge of something enormous, something I could not yet comprehend. As I reached the back door of the house, I opened it slowly, the cold air rushing in, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The sound of the waterfall in the distance grew louder, a constant roar that had been with me since I first arrived. The ground beneath my feet was wet from the mist rising off the falls, and I could feel the earth vibrating with the power of the water. Scout darted ahead, his paws splashing in the wet grass, his tail held high. He seemed to know exactly where to go, as if he had been here before. I followed him, my heart racing in my chest. We reached the edge of the waterfall, where the water crashed against the rocks below, sending up a spray of mist that soaked my clothes. I stood there for a moment, taking it all in, the beauty of the scene, the overwhelming sense of nature's power. Then, Scout barked, pulling me out of my thoughts. He was standing at the base of a large rock, his eyes focused intently on something. I knelt down beside him, my breath coming out in soft puffs in the cold air. There, beneath the rock, was something I had missed before. It was a small, hidden door, carved into the stone, barely visible unless you were looking for it. I ran my fingers along the edges of the door, feeling the cold stone beneath my touch. It was old, worn, and weathered, but it had been deliberately hidden, perhaps to keep its contents safe. I could feel my heart pounding as I turned the handle. The door creaked open, revealing a small, narrow tunnel. My mind raced. What could be hidden here? What had Laura wanted me to find? I looked down at Scout, who seemed unfazed by the dark, narrow passage. He wagged his tail and stepped forward, leading the way. I followed him, my footsteps echoing off the stone walls. The tunnel was cool and damp, the air thick with the scent of earth and moss. As I walked deeper, the sound of the waterfall grew fainter, replaced by the sound of my own footsteps. The passage seemed to stretch on forever, but then, ahead of me, I saw a faint light. I quickened my pace, my heart pounding in my chest. As I reached the source of the light, I found myself in a small, underground chamber. The walls were covered in intricate carvings, symbols and shapes I couldn't recognize, and in the center of the room stood an old wooden chest. I approached the chest carefully, my fingers brushing the rough surface. It was locked, but I wasn't sure what was inside. I had to open it. I reached into my pocket, pulling out a small key I had found earlier, the one that seemed to belong to the chest. It fit perfectly, and with a deep breath, I turned the key. The chest creaked open, revealing a collection of items inside. Old photographs, faded letters, and an assortment of small, personal objects that had clearly been left behind. But there was one thing that caught my eye, an old, weathered journal. I picked it up, feeling its weight in my hands. The cover was cracked, and the pages inside were yellowed with age, but the handwriting was still legible. I opened the journal to the first page and read the words that seemed to jump off the page. Ben, this is your story. This is where it all begins. The house is not just a home, it's a key, and this journal will show you how to unlock the truth. My fingers trembled as I held the journal. This was it. This was the secret Laura had left for me. The truth. I had found it. But what came next? I didn't know. All I knew was that I had to keep going. The house, the waterfall, the journal, everything was leading me somewhere. I had no idea where, but I was ready to find out. I stood there, holding the journal with trembling hands, the weight of its pages heavier than I had imagined. The words Laura had left behind were like a map, guiding me through the fog of my own confusion. The chest had been filled with more than just old photographs and letters. It had been filled with the key to unlocking everything I had been searching for. As I read the opening lines, I felt something shift inside me, like a door opening that I hadn't even realized was there. Ben, this is your story. This is where it all begins. The house is not just a home, it's a key. And this journal will show you how to unlock the truth. Those words resonated deeply, and I knew, without a doubt, that this was not just about uncovering a hidden secret. It was about understanding something much larger than myself. I had to keep going, follow the trail, and uncover whatever Laura had left for me. I closed the journal for a moment, taking a deep breath. Scout, as if sensing my determination, padded over and sat beside me, his loyal eyes watching me closely. I reached down and patted his head, grateful for his silent companionship. Together, we had faced so much already, but this was different. This was a journey into the unknown. I stood up, carefully placing the journal back into the chest, and turned toward the narrow tunnel I had come through. The light from the small bulb above flickered, as if encouraging me to continue, to push forward. I walked back through the passage, the walls closing in slightly, but my mind was focused on one thing: the waterfall. The map had been clear, the secret lay beneath it. The waterfall wasn't just a beautiful feature of the land. It was the gateway, the marker for something much deeper. As I emerged from the tunnel, I stepped outside and felt the cool air wash over me again. The roar of the waterfall filled the air, louder than before, as if it, too, was calling me. Scout trotted ahead, his tail wagging, and I followed, every step heavier than the last, but driven by a purpose I couldn't quite articulate. We reached the edge of the waterfall, and I stood there for a moment, staring at the cascade of water tumbling down into the rocks below. The mist rose from the base of the falls, and I could feel it on my face, refreshing but strangely heavy. Something about this place felt sacred, as if the earth itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. I looked at Scout, who was standing at the water's edge, his ears pricked up, as if hearing something I couldn't. Then I remembered the words from the journal. This house was the key. But what did it unlock? What was the truth I was supposed to find? The waterfall, the hidden room, the journal. Everything had led me here. I took a step forward, moving closer to the rocks where the water churned violently below. There, hidden beneath a large boulder, was a small crevice. I crouched down, leaning closer, and realized that the stone was not natural. It had been carefully shaped, and behind it was something, a door, hidden in plain sight. I felt my pulse quicken as I reached for the rock, my fingers scraping against the rough surface as I tried to move it. The stone was heavy, but with effort, I managed to shift it slightly. A cold draft escaped from the crack, sending a chill through me. I knew then that I had found it. The secret Laura had left for me. This was the final piece of the puzzle. My hands trembled as I pulled at the stone, revealing a small wooden door behind it. The door was old, the wood weathered by time and elements, but it was unmistakable. It was real. I had found it. With a deep breath, I placed my hand on the door and turned the handle. The door creaked open, and I stepped inside. What lay beyond was a small, dimly lit room, its walls covered in ancient symbols and carvings. The air inside was cool, and there was a strange stillness, as if this place had not been disturbed in centuries. I could feel a sense of power here, a quiet energy that seemed to vibrate through the walls. In the center of the room stood an altar, and on it was an object wrapped in cloth. Slowly, I walked forward, my footsteps echoing in the silence. As I reached the altar, I carefully lifted the cloth, revealing a small, intricately carved box. The box was beautiful, with delicate patterns etched into its surface, and it seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. I knew then that this was it. This was what Laura had wanted me to find. I carefully opened the box, my heart pounding in my chest. Inside, there was a key, an old-fashioned brass key with a delicate design. It was small but heavy in my hand, as if it held the weight of all the secrets I had uncovered so far. But there was more, a note, written in the same elegant handwriting as the journal. The note simply read, "This is the final key, Ben. Use it wisely. The house is yours now, but there is still much to be done." The words were cryptic, but I understood. This was not just a key to a house. It was a key to the future, to the next step in my journey. I felt the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders. I had come here to find peace, but I had found so much more. The truth was not just in the house or the waterfall, but in the legacy Laura had left for me. And now, it was up to me to unlock the next chapter. I stood there, holding the key in my hand, the weight of it heavy with the promise of what was to come. The note in the box had been simple, but the message was clear. This was not the end of my journey, but the beginning of something much greater. The house is yours now, but there is still much to be done. Laura had left me a legacy, and now, it was up to me to unlock the next chapter. With Scout by my side, I knew I couldn't do this alone. We had come so far together, and whatever was to come, we would face it together. I turned the key over in my hand, studying its design. It was beautiful, intricate, and old, and there was something about it that seemed almost timeless. I could feel a strange energy coming from it, as if the key itself was alive, vibrating with the potential of the secrets it held. I had no idea where this key would take me, but I knew it was important. I had to find the door it opened. My heart pounded in my chest as I retraced my steps through the tunnel and back into the house. The walls felt different now, as though they were holding their breath, waiting for me to make the next move. Scout trotted ahead, his tail wagging in excitement, sensing that something big was about to happen. We reached the center of the house, where I had first discovered the journal, the map, and the hidden compartment. The room felt warmer now, as if the house itself was reacting to my presence. I glanced around, my eyes landing on the old stone fireplace, where I had seen the markings before. I walked over to it, my hand instinctively reaching out to touch the carved symbols on the mantle. The key in my pocket seemed to hum in response, as if it knew what I was about to do. I felt a surge of energy course through me as I reached for the keyhole embedded in the stone. It was small, barely noticeable, and I had almost missed it the first time. But now it was clear. I inserted the key into the lock, feeling the smooth metal slide into place. There was a soft click, and the entire fireplace seemed to shift. The stone wall in front of me began to move, slowly at first, revealing a hidden passage behind it. I took a deep breath, my heart racing as I stepped forward, Scout following closely behind. The passage was narrow and dark, but the air felt different here, charged with anticipation. The walls were lined with old wooden beams, and the floor creaked beneath our weight as we made our way deeper into the unknown. It felt like we were walking through time, moving through layers of history that had been hidden away, waiting to be uncovered. As we reached the end of the passage, I could see a faint light ahead. It was soft, flickering like a candle, and it seemed to beckon me forward. I quickened my pace, the excitement building in my chest. What lay ahead? What had Laura wanted me to find? I reached the end of the passage and stepped into a small room, the walls covered in dust and cobwebs. The light was coming from a small oil lamp sitting on a table in the center of the room. Beside it was an old leather-bound book, its pages yellowed with age. I walked over to the table, my fingers trembling as I picked up the book. It was heavier than I had expected, as if it held more than just words. As I opened it, I realized that it was a journal, Laura's journal. The handwriting was familiar, and my heart skipped a beat as I began to read. Ben, if you are reading this, then you have found the key. This house, this land, is more than just a home. It is a sanctuary, a place of healing. But it also holds something else, a legacy that has been passed down through generations. This house was not built by chance. It was meant for you, to carry on the work that I could not finish. The truth is, this house is a portal, a doorway to a new life. But it is not just a place. It is a responsibility. A burden, yes, but also a gift. You must use it wisely. You must unlock its power, and only then will you understand what I have left for you. The words hit me like a wave, and I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. This house, this place, was not just a home. It was a key to something much larger. Laura had known all along, and now, it was my turn to finish what she had started. My hands shook as I closed the journal, but I felt a surge of determination rise within me. I had been given this gift, this responsibility, and I would not fail her. I looked down at Scout, who was standing beside me, his eyes filled with understanding. We were in this together. Whatever this legacy was, we would face it together. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment settle over me. I had uncovered the truth, but there was still so much more to discover. The journey wasn't over. It had only just begun. I stood there, the weight of Laura's journal heavy in my hands, the words from the last page still echoing in my mind. This house was more than just a house. It was a portal, a doorway to something bigger, something that I had yet to fully understand. As I stood in that dimly lit room, Scout by my side, I knew that my journey had taken a new turn. I wasn't just here to uncover a hidden past. I was here to protect the legacy Laura had left for me. But what did that legacy truly mean? What was this responsibility she had spoken of, and how was I supposed to unlock the house's power? The more I thought about it, the more I realized that the answers were buried in the house itself. Laura had trusted me with this, and I couldn't turn back now. I closed the journal and placed it gently on the table, turning to look around the room once again. The walls, covered in strange carvings and symbols, seemed to pulse with life. There was something about them, something ancient, as if they were waiting for me to do something. I could feel it now. The house wasn't just a structure. It was a living entity, full of secrets and untapped potential. The room felt charged with energy, and I knew that I was standing on the brink of something monumental. I needed to find the next clue. As I stood there, I noticed a small door at the far end of the room. It was barely noticeable, hidden behind a large tapestry. My instincts kicked in, and without thinking, I moved toward it. Scout followed closely behind, his ears alert, sensing the change in the air. I reached for the door, and to my surprise, it opened with little resistance. Behind it was a narrow corridor, dark and quiet, with a set of wooden stairs leading down into the earth. The air in the passage was cool, and I could smell the earth beneath the house, thick with the scent of age and history. I felt a sense of unease creep up on me, but I pushed it aside. This was it. This was the next step. I walked down the stairs, Scout's footsteps echoing behind me. The further I descended, the darker it became, but I could feel a strange warmth building in my chest. Whatever was waiting for me down here, I knew it was important. At the bottom of the stairs, the corridor opened up into a vast underground chamber. The walls were lined with shelves, each filled with old books and scrolls, their spines worn with age. In the center of the room stood a large stone pedestal, and upon it, a single object rested. A small box, intricately carved with symbols that matched those on the walls. It was beautiful, the craftsmanship unlike anything I had ever seen before. I walked toward it, my heart racing in anticipation. This was it, the final clue. I reached out and lifted the box, feeling its weight in my hands. The moment my fingers touched it, I felt a shock of energy pass through me, a surge of power that left me breathless. I opened the box slowly, revealing a set of keys, each one different from the others. There was one key in particular, a large, ornate key, that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. I could feel the power radiating from it. This was it, the key that Laura had spoken of. I picked it up, the weight of it almost overwhelming, and I knew that this key was the one that would unlock the truth I had been searching for. As I held the key, the room around me seemed to shift. The walls seemed to hum with energy, and I could feel the house reacting to the presence of the key. It was as if everything was coming together, the pieces falling into place. But there was still more to do. I had uncovered the key, but the real question was where it fit. I couldn't help but think back to the journal, to Laura's words about unlocking the house's power. The key wasn't just for a door, it was for something much bigger. The realization hit me like a wave. This house, this land, wasn't just a home. It was a place of power, a place that held the secrets to something far greater than I had ever imagined. And it was up to me to unlock it. With the key in hand, I turned to leave the underground chamber, Scout following close behind. As I walked back up the stairs, I knew that my journey wasn't over. In fact, it had only just begun. The house, the key, the legacy, everything was leading me towards something. The question was, what was it? I stood at the entrance to the underground chamber, the ornate key still in my hand, the weight of it pressing against my palm. The room felt alive, pulsing with energy, as if the house itself was waiting for me to take the next step. I could feel the air around me shift, the space tightening with anticipation. Scout sat at my feet, his eyes watching me carefully, as if he understood the importance of the moment. This was the key that would unlock everything. The truth, the power, the legacy Laura had left behind. But what did it unlock? What was this house really hiding? My mind raced as I carefully made my way back up the narrow corridor, the key feeling heavier with each step. I knew I had to find the door, the one that would open with this key. I had already discovered so much, but there was still more to uncover. The thought of Laura, her words, her vision for this place, kept pushing me forward. I had come this far, and I wasn't going to stop now. As I reached the top of the stairs, I stepped back into the house, the walls around me seeming to hum with energy. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Whatever was about to happen, I was ready. With Scout beside me, I walked through the house, searching for the door the key would fit. My eyes moved from room to room, studying every inch of the house. It felt like a living puzzle, each room holding a new piece, a new clue. And then, as I entered the study, I saw it. There, hidden behind a bookshelf, was a door. It wasn't large, but it was there, tucked away like a secret, waiting to be found. My heart skipped a beat as I stepped forward. I had found it. I knew this was the door. This was the one the key was meant for. I reached for the handle, my breath catching in my chest. As I inserted the key into the lock, I felt a strange surge of energy, as if the house itself was reacting. The key slid into place with a soft click, and I turned the handle. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a small, dimly lit room. The air was thick with dust, and the silence was almost oppressive. But as I stepped inside, the weight of the house seemed to lift. This room, unlike the others, was untouched by time. It was as if no one had entered it for years. The walls were lined with shelves, each one holding various objects, books, photographs, and strange artifacts. But what caught my attention was the large wooden chest sitting in the center of the room. It was old, its surface worn and cracked, but there was something about it that drew me in. I approached it slowly, my hands trembling with anticipation. This was it. This was the heart of the house, the final piece of the puzzle. I opened the chest carefully, my breath catching as I lifted the lid. Inside, there was a collection of old papers, letters, and photographs. But at the bottom of the chest, something caught my eye, a small wooden box, intricately carved and sealed shut. It was unlike anything I had seen before. I picked it up carefully, feeling its weight in my hands. There was a sense of reverence in the air as I held it, as if the box itself was waiting to reveal its secrets. I opened the box slowly, my fingers brushing against the smooth wood. Inside, there was a single, folded piece of paper. I unfolded it, my hands shaking, and read the words written in Laura's familiar handwriting. Ben, this is where it all begins. The house is yours, but the legacy is not just about what you inherit. It's about what you do with it. The key is not just for a door. It's for your heart, your mind, your spirit. Use it wisely, and you will understand the truth. But remember, the path ahead will not be easy. There will be trials, and you will need to trust in yourself, in Scout, and in the power of the house. The answers are here. The journey is yours. The words sank in slowly, and I could feel the gravity of them. This was it. Laura had left me with more than just a house. She had left me with a responsibility. The key wasn't just for unlocking doors, it was for unlocking something deeper within me, something I had yet to fully comprehend. I looked down at Scout, who was sitting patiently by my side, his eyes filled with understanding. I knew then that the journey wasn't just about discovering the house's secrets. It was about discovering myself, my purpose, and my future. This was a test, and I was ready. I sat there for a long moment, the weight of Laura's words sinking in. The key was not just for a door, not just for unlocking the secrets of the house. It was for unlocking something within me. My heart raced with the realization of what she had left me. The journey ahead would not be easy, but it was mine to take, and I had to trust in myself and the house. The responsibility weighed heavily on me, but for the first time in what felt like years, I wasn't afraid. Scout sat by my side, his presence grounding me, offering me the silent reassurance that we were in this together. The house, the legacy, the key, it was all intertwined. There was more to this place than I could yet understand, but I knew it would reveal itself in time. I stood up, feeling the urgency building within me. The moment of truth had arrived. The path ahead might be uncertain, but I couldn't wait any longer. I had to continue, to discover what lay beyond the house, to unravel the mystery that Laura had set in motion. With Scout by my side, I walked out of the small, hidden room and back into the main part of the house. The atmosphere had changed. The air felt charged, almost electric, and I could feel the house's energy, as if it were alive, aware of my every move. I had a sense of purpose now, a direction. The key, the box, the journal, everything was guiding me to the next step. I followed the narrow corridor back to the center of the house, my hand clutching the key tightly, the weight of it grounding me. As I walked through the house, I felt as though the walls were watching me, the eyes of the past following my every step. There was no turning back now. I reached the center of the house, the room that had felt so heavy with secrets just days ago. Now, it felt like the heart of the house, pulsing with life, with history, with purpose. The fireplace stood before me, just as it had when I first entered, but now it seemed different. The symbols carved into the stone glowed faintly, as if responding to the key in my hand. I knew this was where the next piece of the puzzle lay. I inserted the key into the lock in the stone, feeling the familiar surge of energy as the mechanism clicked into place. The wall shifted, opening to reveal yet another hidden passage. I took a deep breath, ready for whatever came next, and stepped forward. The passage was narrow, winding through the earth beneath the house, and I could feel the air grow cooler as I moved deeper. The walls were lined with more symbols, more markings, but these were different. They were ancient, almost as if they had been there long before the house had been built. My pulse quickened. This was not just about Laura's dream anymore. This was about something much older, something tied to the land itself. Scout trotted ahead, his nose twitching as if he, too, could sense the shift in the air. The passage seemed to go on forever, but eventually, it opened up into a large underground chamber. The space was vast, filled with stone pillars and strange carvings that seemed to tell a story, though I could not decipher them. At the center of the room stood another pedestal, and on it was a small chest, much like the one I had found earlier. I approached the chest cautiously, my steps slow and deliberate. This felt different. This felt like the final step. I reached for the chest, my fingers trembling, and lifted the lid. Inside, there was a single object, a small, intricately carved stone, glowing softly with a faint light. I picked it up, feeling its warmth in my palm. The stone was smooth, almost alive, and I could feel its energy pulsing with each beat of my heart. This was it. This was the key to everything. I had found it. But what did it mean? What was I supposed to do with it? The answer wasn't clear, but I knew one thing for sure. I had to trust in the house, in the legacy Laura had left me, and in myself. Whatever came next, I was ready to face it. With Scout by my side, I walked out of the chamber, the stone clutched tightly in my hand. The house had given me its secrets, its power, and now it was time for me to use them. But the journey wasn't over yet. The house had more to reveal, and I knew it wouldn't be long before I uncovered the truth. This was just the beginning. I stood there, holding the stone in my hand, feeling its warmth as if it were alive. It pulsed with energy, and the faint glow it emitted was mesmerizing. The house had given me its final gift, but what did it mean? What was I supposed to do with this stone, this object that seemed to hold the answers to everything? As I turned it over in my hand, memories of Laura flooded my mind. Her voice, her laughter, the way she had always believed in the magic of this house, in the power it held. She had known, all along, that this day would come. She had left me this legacy, this gift, but the truth still eluded me. I glanced at Scout, who was standing beside me, watching me with his steady eyes. He had been with me through everything, and now, as I stood at the threshold of something monumental, I realized I wasn't alone. With Scout at my side, I knew I could face whatever came next. I walked through the house, the stone still warm in my hand. The walls seemed to shift around me, as if responding to my presence. The house felt alive, the air charged with an energy I couldn't quite understand. Every step I took brought me closer to the truth, and I could feel the weight of the house's secrets pressing down on me. I had come so far, uncovered so much, but now it was time to unlock the final door, the one that would lead to the heart of everything. I made my way to the center of the house, to the place where the fireplace stood, the same place where I had first felt the house's power, where everything had begun. I stood there for a moment, feeling the energy around me build, growing stronger with each passing second. It was time. I stepped forward and placed the stone in the center of the fireplace. As soon as it touched the stone, the room seemed to come alive. The air shifted, the walls groaned, and a low hum filled the space. The stone in the fireplace glowed brighter, the light spilling across the room, casting strange shadows on the walls. I stepped back, my heart pounding in my chest. Something was happening. The house was responding, reacting to the stone, to the power it held. I could feel it deep in my bones. This was the moment. The stone began to sink into the fireplace, disappearing into the stonework, and the hum grew louder. Suddenly, the ground beneath me trembled, and a section of the wall shifted, revealing a hidden passage. My breath caught in my throat. This was it. The final door had opened. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what I would find on the other side. But then, with Scout by my side, I stepped into the passage, feeling the weight of the house's secrets all around me. The passage was narrow, lined with more strange carvings and symbols, but this time, They seemed clearer, as if they were guiding me forward. The walls seemed to breathe, the air thick with the history of this place, and I could feel something shifting in the distance, something far deeper than I had ever imagined. I reached the end of the passage, and before me stood a large stone door, covered in the same symbols I had seen throughout the house. This was it. The final door, the one Laura had wanted me to find. I reached for the door handle, feeling the cold stone beneath my fingers, and turned it. The door opened with a low groan, revealing a vast chamber beyond. The room was filled with light, brighter than anything I had ever seen, and in the center stood a massive altar, covered in strange artifacts. At the altar was a figure, an older man, tall and regal, standing in front of a large, ancient book. I froze. This man, this figure, felt familiar, but I couldn't place him. His eyes met mine, and for a moment, I thought I saw recognition in them. The man spoke, his voice deep and resonant, echoing in the chamber. "You have found the truth," he said. "But the journey is not over. You have only just begun to understand the power you now hold." His words struck me like a thunderclap. I had only just begun? The realization hit me like a wave, and I felt my knees weaken beneath me. Everything I had uncovered, everything I had experienced, had been leading to this moment. But what came next? What did this man mean by the journey was not over? The man stepped aside, revealing the ancient book on the altar. "This is the book of the house," he said, his voice filled with reverence. "It holds the final secrets. The power of the house, the truth of its purpose, everything you need to know is written here. But it will not be easy to unlock." I felt a chill run through me. This was it, the final piece. The key to everything. I stepped forward, reaching for the book, my fingers brushing against the cool leather cover. The moment I touched it, the room seemed to pulse with energy, the walls vibrating with power. I opened the book, the pages falling open to a single chapter. The text was written in a language I couldn't understand, but the symbols seemed familiar. I could feel the meaning behind them, deep inside me, as if the book was speaking directly to my soul. The man's voice interrupted my thoughts. "The house will guide you, but you must be willing to face what lies within. You are the chosen one, Ben. This house is your inheritance, but it comes with great responsibility." The weight of his words sank in, and I knew, with a certainty I couldn't explain, that the journey ahead would be the hardest I had ever faced. But it was my journey, and I would not turn back. Not now. Not after everything I had uncovered. The house had chosen me, and I had to finish what Laura had started. The chamber was silent except for the low hum of energy that pulsed through its stone walls, a rhythm that felt ancient and steady, as though the heartbeat of the house itself had been echoing for generations. I stood before the altar, the ancient book open in my hands, the carved stone walls illuminated by a soft glow I could not explain. The older man who had spoken to me stepped back into the shadows, watching with a calm that made me feel both uneasy and strangely comforted. Scout pressed against my leg, his warm presence grounding me as I tried to understand what the book was showing me. The symbols on the page danced before my eyes, shifting and changing, yet something inside me knew exactly what they meant. I felt as though Laura's voice was whispering through the pages, guiding me as she always had. The truth of the house was unfolding, not in words I could read, but in a feeling that filled my chest with a deep, powerful certainty. The man stepped forward, his voice gentle yet firm. "You must understand," he said, "the power of this house is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced. It has chosen you for a reason, just as it chose those before you. You are the next in the line of guardians." The word guardian sent a chill through me. I had never imagined my life would take me down such a path. I had been a soldier once, a husband, a man searching for meaning after losing everything. But this was something else entirely. I looked down at the book again, the symbols glowing softly beneath my fingertips. The truth was there, waiting for me to unlock it. I could feel the weight of generations pressing down on me, the weight of the house's legacy. And then, without warning, the room trembled. The light in the chamber flickered, and Scout growled, his fur bristling. The older man stepped closer, his eyes narrowing with concern. "It has begun," he said. "The house is revealing its final truth. You must be prepared." I clutched the book tighter, my heart pounding. The walls around us began to shift, the carvings on them glowing brighter, and I could feel the ground beneath my feet vibrating. The air grew heavy, thick with energy, and I felt a strange warmth spread through my chest. The stone in the fireplace, the key, the journal, the carvings, everything Laura had left for me had been preparing me for this moment. This was the revelation she had spoken of. I turned to the man. What do I need to do? His expression softened, and for a moment, he looked almost proud. Trust the house, he said. Trust the legacy. Trust yourself. The chamber grew brighter, the light filling every corner of the room, and I felt a pull in my chest, a magnetic force drawing me closer to the altar. The book in my hands grew warm, the pages turning on their own, until they stopped on a page with a single glowing symbol. The moment I touched it, the world around me shifted. I was no longer in the chamber. I was standing outside the house, the waterfall roaring behind me, the air cold and crisp. Scout stood beside me, his ears alert, his gaze fixed on something in the distance. I looked around, feeling both disoriented and strangely calm. The house looked different. The windows glowed with a soft, golden light, and the wind carried a whisper that felt familiar, like Laura's voice carried through the air. I looked down at the book still in my hand. The glowing symbol pulsed gently, as though waiting for me to take the next step. The house had revealed something to me, a vision of what was to come. The truth was not in the chamber. It was here, above ground, waiting to be discovered. Scout barked once, sharp and clear, and took off toward the back of the house. I followed him, the earth crunching beneath my boots, the air thick with anticipation. We reached the waterfall, its mist cooling my skin, and I felt the pull again, the house guiding me toward the place where everything had begun. And then I saw it, an opening behind the waterfall that had not been there before, glowing faintly with the same golden light that had filled the chamber. The final revelation was behind that curtain of water. I took a deep breath, the weight of Laura's legacy heavy and beautiful on my shoulders. Whatever waited beyond that opening, it was meant for me. This was the path she had left, the truth she had wanted me to find. With the ancient book in hand and Scout at my side, I stepped toward the waterfall, ready to face the final truth of the house that had chosen me. I stepped forward, the sound of the waterfall roaring in my ears as I approached the glowing opening behind it. The mist sprayed against my face, cooling my skin, and I felt the weight of everything that had led me to this point. The house, Laura's words, the journal, the stone, all of it had been guiding me here. To this moment. To the final truth. Scout trotted ahead, his tail held high as he moved toward the opening in the rock. His confidence filled me with a quiet determination, and I knew this was where we were meant to go. I reached the edge of the waterfall, the mist thick now, blurring my vision, but the golden light continued to glow through the water, guiding me onward. My heart beat faster as I stepped into the veil of water, the cold chill of it sending a shock through my body. But I didn't hesitate. I pushed forward, the water parting easily before me, revealing a hidden passage behind the falls. The stone walls were smooth and ancient, carved with symbols that seemed to shimmer as I walked past them. It was as if the house, this place, had been waiting for me to discover it, waiting for me to unlock its secrets. I moved deeper into the passage, the golden light growing brighter. The walls narrowed as I walked, and soon I was in a small, enclosed space, its air thick with ancient energy. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and on it lay an object wrapped in cloth. My pulse quickened as I approached, the sense that I was standing on the precipice of something profound building within me. I reached out and carefully unwrapped the cloth. Inside was a small, intricately carved box, its wood dark and worn with age. The carvings matched those on the walls of the house, symbols of protection, of legacy, of the house's power. I felt the connection, the pull, as if the house itself had chosen me to carry its secrets forward. I carefully opened the box. Inside was a single piece of paper, old and brittle, with more symbols written in Laura's familiar handwriting. The moment I touched it, the room seemed to shift. The air around me grew heavier, the golden light flickering. I unfolded the paper, my hands trembling, and began to read. Ben, if you are reading this, then you have come far, farther than I could have ever imagined. The house is not just a home. It is a vessel, a living entity that holds the knowledge of those who have lived here before us. You are the next in line, the guardian of its power. But know this, the house's power is not for the faint of heart. It can heal, it can protect, but it can also destroy. You must understand that with this power comes a great responsibility. The truth you seek is not just for you. It is for all who come after. You must protect the house, guard its secrets, and ensure that its power is used wisely. The key to unlocking its true potential lies within you. Trust in yourself, in the legacy of the house, and in the path you must walk. But remember, the journey is not over. It will never truly end. I finished reading the note, the weight of its meaning sinking deep into my soul. The house was more than just a home. It was a responsibility, a legacy passed down through generations. It was mine now, but it wasn't just mine to keep. It was mine to protect, to nurture, and to share with others who would come after me. The truth had always been here, in the walls of the house, in the legacy of those who had lived before. And now, it was my turn to carry that truth forward. I stood there for a long moment, feeling the gravity of the decision I had just made. The weight of it all, the responsibility, the trust that had been placed in me, was overwhelming. But deep down, I knew that this was my purpose. I had been chosen, and I would not fail. Scout sat at my side, his eyes watching me with a knowing gaze. He had always been there, a constant presence, guiding me through the darkest times. I reached down and patted his head, grateful for his companionship. Together, we had faced the unknown, and now, together, we would protect the house and its legacy. I took one last look at the pedestal, at the box that had revealed the truth to me. The house had given me everything I needed to understand. The next step was mine to take. I turned and began to make my way back toward the opening, the golden light slowly fading behind me. But as I walked, something inside me felt lighter, as if a burden had been lifted. I had found my purpose, and with Scout by my side, I knew we were ready to face whatever came next. The house was mine now, and I would guard its secrets, its power, and its legacy with everything I had. I stepped out from behind the waterfall, the golden light fading as the door behind me closed softly. The house, the power, the legacy, it was all in my hands now. I had found the truth, unlocked the secrets that Laura had hidden, and discovered my purpose. The journey had been long and difficult, filled with mystery and revelation, but now it was clear. I was the guardian of this place, the one who would protect the house and its legacy, and I would not fail. Scout walked beside me, his presence a constant comfort. We had come so far together, and I knew the road ahead would be no different. I made my way back through the house, each room feeling different now. The walls seemed to hum with life, the air thick with the energy of everything that had happened. It was as if the house itself recognized me, acknowledged my role. I had unlocked its power, but I knew that it wasn't just about the house. It was about what I would do with it. The power of the house was not something to be wielded lightly. It could heal, protect, and guide, but it could also destroy. I had to be careful. I had to make sure that the legacy Laura had left behind was honored, that the house's power was used for good. As I moved through the house, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The burden of responsibility was still there, but it no longer felt overwhelming. The truth had been revealed, and now, it was my turn to carry it forward. The path ahead wasn't clear, but I knew one thing. I wasn't alone. Scout was by my side, and the house was with me, its secrets and power at my disposal. I had a duty to protect it, but I also had a duty to myself, to live the life that Laura had hoped for me. I walked to the back door of the house, the same door I had passed through so many times before. The view beyond it had changed, but not in the way I expected. The waterfall, the land, everything felt different now. The house had opened my eyes to something larger than myself. It had given me the keys to understanding, to healing, and to moving forward. I opened the door and stepped out into the world, the weight of the key in my pocket reminding me that my journey wasn't over. It had only just begun. The house would always be there, a sanctuary, a guide, but now, I was ready to step into the world and use what I had learned. With Scout by my side, I knew we could face anything. The legacy of the house was mine to protect, but it was also mine to share. The future was uncertain, but I had the strength to face it, and the house would be there to guide me every step of the way. I had found the truth, unlocked the power, and now, it was time to live the life Laura had dreamed for me. The journey was far from over, but I was ready to embrace whatever came next. And so, I walked forward, with Scout by my side, knowing that the house's legacy would live on through me.